My name is Christina Jones, and I would like to talk to you a little bit about marijuana and its effects on adolescents. This is for the Masters in Health Sciences, Class 599, a video presentation for Dr. Wilson. I first became interested in the marijuana epidemic when California legalized marijuana. And I noticed that there were quite a few youth that were obtaining the drug from someone that had it for a medical purpose. I wanted to talk a little bit about how marijuana affects the adolescent body and brain. It can be just as dangerous as tobacco. It affects the lungs and the respiration. And it contains as many harmful chemicals as tobacco. It affects the brain by movement, judgment, sensations, vision, and memory coordination. And what I have seen in several of the studies is that the rise in vehicular accidents has been raised in states where marijuana has been legalized. Why is marijuana a problem for adolescents? I have heard several times that marijuana is not harmful. And it is less harmful than other drugs, but it is not a harmless drug. There are side effects. Marijuana can have long-term social and economic implications for adolescents as they grow. It affects the developing brain. And marijuana can also serve as a gateway drug for more addictive and hardcore drugs such as heroin and cocaine. Can marijuana legalization increase accessibility for youth? This would be my research question. The best way to determine the answer to this question would be through a literature review. What did the literature show? The literature gave a brief overview of many different topics. This controversial issue has been both negative and positive depending on who has done the research and the study. There are advocates for and against the legalization of marijuana and whether or not those effects are harmful to youth. Marijuana also serves as that gateway drug, and many people that have used heroin and cocaine and harder drugs actually started with the usage of marijuana, and that is why, it's very harmful to adolescents. Marijuana has not been linked to any individual deaths, such as by overdose, and children with greater access to marijuana don't necessarily have a higher risk for usage. It's all an individual choice, and that is what the literature has shown. An interpretation of the data. Studies and data use their surveys to support claims that adolescents are not at an increased risk when states have legalized marijuana. Particularly, this claim has been used when other states have thought about proposing legalization in their states. By saying that there is no risk, that makes it a little bit easier for the passage of marijuana laws. Studies fail to note where the adolescents are receiving the marijuana. This is a huge, huge deal. If marijuana is being received by those that have been obtaining it through medical usage, this is something that should be documented and researched. There is a lack of longitudinal data to consistently show how legalization affects adolescents. There are short-term studies, but nothing that follows adolescents into adulthood, into their 30s. And what is needed is a larger longitudinal study in order for this to be a more valid the research topic. In closing, this graph here shows that before the marijuana laws were passed, the percentage of adolescents, 8th, 10th, 12th, and combined, what the percentage of those students were that said that they had used marijuana, and after laws were passed within those states. And you can see that there's a slight decrease instead of my proposed increase in the percentage of adolescents that actually used marijuana in states where it was legalized. Combined, there's a 16.3% adolescent group that has used marijuana before laws were passed. And after such legislature, it was a slight drop at 15.5%. This study would give someone the idea that passing marijuana would decrease its uses amongst adolescents, and I believe this gives us a false vision. The claim that marijuana legalization negatively affects adolescents was not proven within my literature review. Studies show that there has been no significant changes amongst adolescent marijuana use in states before and after legalization. But this also gives a slight snapshot of the direct before and after effects of legalization. It does not give a long-term study. Youth risk behavior surveys were used within much of the research that I overviewed. The results were similar, but in the short term, marijuana has no effects on the adolescents due to legalization, but the long-term effects are where we would need to put more research money. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.